All right. With that little segue, I figured out do a real quick extra bonus session of other neat tricks in DAS and talk about some other things if you've hung on this long. So stay tuned for some bonus content. Uh, First things first, I believe you should be able to hear him now, the guy I've been talking about. It looks like I've been talking to myself. I have it set up so that when, like I said, any order gets filled, I know because it says it gets filled. And let's hope you can hear this.
Account TRBBT1595 got filled.
Hopefully that didn't blow out your speakers. I tried to adjust that. And while we're here, this is how you'd set that up. You have your count. I don't care if you see this value. It's just a simulator, my testing count. Your fill, blah, blah. Now, like, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but this is very finicky. It will sometimes work and sometimes not as far as on a day-to-day basis. If it either it's working or it's not working. So when I fire up DAS, I tend to test it, and usually it works, but sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what the bug is on that, but unlike the other alerts that always work, this one's finicky. I also have time alerts. So time is simple. Time equals, this is market time. You just set that. And I use Mario sounds for everything. So that's to signify the end of the trading day. For market open, let's see. Market open, I use a few other things you can do in here is obviously you have your last price. And I'm not sure if I discussed it, but there is a bug that he will read out the value incorrectly. And he'll say, for example, he might say 24408. The reason for that is he's actually reading the array placement of this character of your selection here. So if I was to go into this and select something differently. So in this particular array, this is index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He will read the index value. And the reason why, from what I've seen, I looked at this in RAM, in memory, this value sits directly next to these values, but it doesn't, when this value changes, it doesn't move over. So he actually reads starting from the address basically like 4 bytes over. So he ends up reading this value because it's a 3. Right here would be a 34408. So depending on what you have selected here, he will read, instead of saying less than or equal to, that's what that is. That's the bug. So if you ever see that or he ever reads out a really high number, you know why. They haven't fixed it. It's been around for a long time. These alerts are not, I don't think, a priority for them because people usually use a lot of other stuff. For max stop and max loss, you can do the same thing. I do, P&L less than minus 150, and it'll give me a warning. Now, a little trick is if you go up here in the symbol box and type in something, max loss warning, he will speak whatever you type when that max loss hits. So
Max loss warning. Account TRBBT1595.
same thing for the max win, and I do a warning and I also do a max loss stop. Max loss stop, when I hear him say that, I basically stop. When I hear max loss warning is I'm aware that I basically have one trade's worth of risk left. So I've got to make it a good one. And for the last few months, whenever I've heard max loss warning, I've actually been able to bring myself back to near break even at least. So, that's a good thing to kind of have to be able to, that way you don't have to stare at your P&L and have that psychologically in your head. But this kind of gives you a little flag like, hey, now downside is this also accounts for what their estimate of your fees will be. So in DAS Simulator, your fees are really high. It's like $5 per trade or per ticket. So you will actually hit max loss warning usually before you might hit your value. So you might want to play with your values a little bit. I use $80 risk. So 150 is slightly below one, 2 times 80 essentially, 160. And just like to prove you can say anything, let's see. One thing I wish they would do.
Bear Bull Traders. Account TRBBT1595.
I wish they would let you change the voice because there's so many voices out. Like you have Samuel L. Jackson, synthesizers, and you have. I love to have like an angry German guy from Inglorious Bastards be able to yell at me. That would just be fun, for the max loss. Uh, I try to make trading as fun as possible. Even when you're losing, I try to make it fun. So some people say I'm trying to make it maybe too much like a game, but I don't agree. So those are the trading alerts. Another thing a lot of people don't know exists or have never used or are afraid to use. If you go up into here, pool scanner. DAS has a built-in scanner. It's not as robust, especially not as robust as Trade Ideas, but Trade Ideas you're paying for. This is free, included with your DAS. So say you want gap up. Now, you can scan that, and it gives you all your gaps for that day. You have your 52. These are some I think I set up, and you can modify. They don't give you a whole lot of options, but you still can narrow it down a little bit. And I think the RSI one, yeah, RSI has the lowest and highest RSI, 52-week high-low, volume and price filters. There's not a whole lot in here. Price change from open, but at least get you something inside the program that you can play with if you want something just quick to see or have an automatic list that's generating. That's a fun little side thing. Some recent things that they've added, but I believe are going to be paid. You'll see subscription services here. Trade signal. Oh, we have to download something. Download completed. Now this is something new. I think this is going to be subscription. It's kind of like Trade Ideas in a way, where you can create different scanners, price crossed above view app. You type a name, you select your values. This is them targeting Trade Ideas and trying to bring it in so that they can take subscription pricing from them, try to capture that customer. It'll pop up, enable, and I assume at some point it's going to be able to trigger buy or sell, but built right in. There's a lot of different ones. You can play with this. I don't think it's live yet. I don't know if it's live yet. I've never actually used it trading live. I just know it's there and played around with it. But worth knowing. And you have a signal button. Once you select it, you can do a signal. Uh, that's just a fun little side effect. Another thing that people might not know is DAS does have a screen recorder built in, and in the latest version, it actually works. 5.4.3 is the latest public, I think. Yep. And this thing actually works. I was playing with it today. I did manage to find some ways to crash the entire program, but we'll forget about that for a second. You can select the way this works. We'll do a quick recap. If you want to record all your monitors, you'll have a really large file, and you might want to play with these settings: compression, quality, record events. We'll talk about that in a split second. Add symbol name to screenshot file. Those aren't checked by default. I checked those. Uh, if you want to record the entire screen, you simply just hit this button or do the hotkey for that. If you want to record a region, like just say I want to record just this screen. I didn't want to start a recording. Upside dropped arrow and drag. Once you hit start recording, it saves those coordinates. So now it should persist once you manage to crash the program before you save it. It should persist throughout. So we'll stop this recording and we will we'll use my hotkey. I set up a hotkey for this, and you don't have to have this open anymore. One of the things used to have that selected, so it kind of didn't help out much, but do my hotkey. So now it's recording. You'll see it down here in the corner doing this thing. And stop. So it's built in. You don't have to worry about OBS if you're doing that. The advantage to this is it'll actually, if you have that option to record events, it'll put a file here like this, and you will see it gives you time codes for all the different things you did. This is a different video I recorded, but it gives you time codes for the events surrounding that. Worth noting. With the screenshot, same thing. It's a different region, so you can do different regions for video and screenshot. Uh, with the screenshot, you select your region, capture full screen, copy to clipboard, select region to capture and save to file. So we will do a full screen. Yeah. And copy to clipboard just because we want that region. And now when we hit my capture button, I actually have my hotkey for this to select my master montage, and I'll tell you why in a second. It does its thing. We come back down to our DAS folder. Where is it? And screenshots. Boom. Oh, that's the other one. I think. Yeah, so this is my old region. You'll see I had it boxed like half the screen, and it added MU to the screenshot because I have it set to focus window when it fires. So we'll go into here, and it's under tools. I try to organize it best because I have so many of them. Under tools, screen, image, last region, right here. Control Shift P, focus window, montage A, which is the title name for this. That's the name I gave it. Screen recorder, select last region, screenshot to file. That's by doing focus window montage A, it'll first select this montage, which allows it to capture this symbol. Otherwise, it will not save that symbol to the file, and then it saves it out. So let me see if that one shows up. Maybe. Let's do that. Play around with it. You can get it to work. Trust me, I had it working, just a few minutes ago. It is finicky, and sometimes you have to clear out. This downloads about 20 megs worth of files of open source AV files and encoders. You have to sometimes clear those out and let it re-download, or just save the zip file and install it. You'll see it when it downloads. It'll be this file down here, and then that just unzips to the main folder, and you'll see the files like AV codec, AV device, filter, format, all that. Sometimes you have to replace those. I don't know if DAS corrupts them or whatever, or if the program corrupts it, but it's still fitting. I think they're still working on it because it's had some changes, but it's worth noting that it's there. Uh, Let me see. I'll pull up my list here. We'll see what else I had. Oops, it's not my list. OCO orders. One cancels the other. Now, I right here have this little black box. This is actually the window tools. I always get this confused. Trigger order. This is where the trigger orders will show up before they get fulfilled. If you go style, if you want to do an OCO order, you can get pretty fancy with this stuff. OCO. This does not currently have hotkeys for any of these boxes down here. So we'll have to do it manually. I've requested that they added hotkeys and let it script this like a trigger order. But you can essentially do what with this, you can do a trailing range. Now, normal range order, you have a set value low, set value high, hit either one, it sells you out. This will allow you to do a trailing range that essentially will trail the price up, just like a stop trailer, but you'll also be able to have your price target up there as well. So that way it can, if you walk away, it can actually encapsulate, so you capture more of the move without having it hit your full stop. So let's see if I can nail this on the first try. I forgot, it's been a long time since I've played with this. All right, we're back. I figured this out. And we'll just cut around that so it looks like I figured it out right away. Essentially, what we're going to do here is we're going to enter a position. So pretend we wanted to go long to here or something like that, and our stop was down here. We enter, we have 400 shares. We clear any open orders or stops that we may have already put in. So 400 shares, 4111. We want to set a price target here. So we double click, gets our price, make sure we have all our shares, price, limit, day plus, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's good. Make sure this is checked. Boom. Go down here, we want to sell. That's our action, our symbol, our shares. You can actually just type position if you wanted to. It'll populate once it fires. Hit stop. Go down to here to trailing, 0.20, let's say 22 cents. What is the difference between this? Yeah, that's about right. We'll say 22-cent trailer. Then we go sell. Now what you're going to see is two orders will come in. You will have a low order, essentially a trailer, 22-cent trailer right here. That's going to keep moving up its sale price as it goes up. You will have a high order, 41.36. This was our take profit order up here. you will have over here two unfired triggers. These are the cancel triggers. Essentially, this one is canceling this one is canceling this one. If one of these fires, it cancels the other. And you can get really advanced if you were to play with these triggers. You can go, I think you do it here. You can do a lot in here, but for the simplicity, it's not exactly user intuitive, but that's basically what's going on. So if this was to run, we haven't gone up at all, so our stop has not moved. So 22 cents from basically whenever we fired that. So if this was to go on a run, it would keep trailing it. So you'd be 22 cents down. So if you had a 1R risk, a stop distance of essentially 20 cents, you could set that and it would automatically keep going up. And once you got to 1R, you're at break even automatically, besides slippage. If it keeps going up to 2R and say it still hasn't hit your profit target to get all out, you'd basically get out at 1R because it's going to trail it. It doesn't trail it smartly, but it does allow you to do a trailing range, kind of a different way of doing it. I do this when I'm walking away from an open trade that just looks like it's going to run, and I don't want to sit there and babysit it. That's how I set it up, and it's pretty reliable. The trigger orders work. There is a way to set up these triggers to fire, uh, as I just said, different things, but it's buried in different menus and they're kind of scattered around. They haven't consolidated all that. And at one point, I think there was a way to have it fire a hotkey, but I couldn't get that to work, uh, or a command line as well. But it is there. And now let's, whoops, move that to the back. I personally, I only use this when I need to walk away. I think that's it for the DAS tips. I will talk about some stuff I've been prototyping, and I don't know if any of this will make it to you guys. I have to work around some issues, but in my version of DAS, I can do multiple things. As you know, we do the pre-market show where you set your lines. You may set lines. I have the ability in mind to have a program push those lines to me. So if say Carlos is doing the pre-market show and he set up all his lines, he could hit a button and upload those if I had a central server set up, and I could accept those and it would automatically download into my charts. The way it does that is by there's a certain area of memory that DAS allocates for that, and I simply just push those in there and tell it to refresh. It's not available because you have to it's kind of like the way I do it is basically like a reverse engineering way. You have to edit the program's memory as it's going on. So when DAS opens, it basically gets an address to start from in RAM and will basically develop the program from there. And you have different assembly code going on, and you're essentially changing the program while it's in memory. So I can't show off that part because it's kind of boring. But another thing I added is in a different version I was playing with, I had the ability, I didn't use it, so I didn't keep it. I had the ability to double click a chart and be able to set an alert. So I'd double click on the chart, I'd hit a hotkey, and it would set an alert to a certain direction. The hotkey I had hotkey for up and hotkey for down. So if the stock came down into that, the alert would fire, or vice versa. That's something that I think a lot of users have suggested to them. So I didn't find it useful for the way I trade, so I didn't bother developing it further. It was just a quick prototype. I might as well get rid of these. All right, trigger orders are gone. Another one I have, not in this version because I haven't updated the API key for my data pipe for this, but I have the ability to tie a stop. Again, this is for when you walk away. Tie a stop to a specific line. So say we're long here and we're long here, we want to go up. We wanted to have the stop, the physical stop, trail this line by like 5 cents offset. I could set that and walk away, and as the stock moves up throughout the day, it'll take this value and it'll keep refreshing that stop order. And it does it. Think I had it on a tick of like every like 2, so it would do it twice a minute, or maybe 4 times a minute, just so it wasn't constantly doing it, because this doesn't update a whole lot. It's something I'm probably going to further develop when I move over to IB, because IB gives you a different API that you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with. And I like their API, whereas DAS wants to charge you for their API. So to do all this stuff, I talked to DAS's customer support, and they said that the API is $100 a month, and they didn't have any documentation to give me on it, and $100 extra per month. And for a firm, that's no brainer. You could pay that for your terminals because you're probably doing algo trading and stuff like that. For me personally, I wasn't going to pay $100 a month, so I developed my own API for DAS that allows me to take a certain spot of memory in the program and push commands into it, and that's how I do a lot of this stuff. And I looked in trying to release something for the community, but that becomes a risky proposition because I'm directly challenging their paid product, and I don't feel like getting hit with a DMCA takedown because that would be, in a way, circumventing. So I haven't released that. Certain things I can release when I finish the prototypes, like the calculator and stuff, because those are separate programs that don't interact with DAS besides basically public means, we'll say, just make it simple. It doesn't actually do any like circumventing of the program locks. The one thing I can show off here is, I think it's running. Let's see. We have our hotkey. We have our hotline. So in the morning, maybe you want to mark more significant lines. So maybe you have a daily line. You want to mark a daily line, and you want to mark a daily moving average just because you want to know about it. Well, you want to use a different color or a different style. I can see if I look at my hotkeys, Alt key, I have a preset system, and I can, so let's see, this hotkey, oops. Trying to remember my hotkeys here. There we go, presets. I can push presets onto the thing with a hotkey, and let's see if I can get the other one to work. Again, these are prototypes I built that I haven't decided which ones I'm going to finish off. There we go, got a red line. As well as to that, I can also adjust them, style-wise and color-wise. This is something I've suggested to DAS that they give us, just because it would be really convenient to be able to just switch to presets on the fly. I only have 2 presets set up in this, but you can do basically whatever you want. And it's actually useful for visualizing, because on a daily, on a moving average, I want to know that that's a moving average on this chart without looking down here. So if I mark it down here, it's going to be the same line as everything if I don't change it. And it's kind of cumbersome to go in, right click, config, change that. And now then you have to go back on your next line because that's set your default, change it. So it's just easier to do it this way.